Who are we? It is a question that every human asks at some point. We look in the mirror, we see our families, we walk through crowded cities. In all these moments, we might wonder about our origins. Where did we come from? How did our story begin? This is not just a question for scientists. This is not just a question for historians. It is a question for everyone. It connects us to every person who has ever lived. Understanding our beginning helps us understand our present. It gives meaning to our shared human experience and helps explain why our world looks the way it does today. The story of humanity is the greatest story ever told. It is an epic that spans millions of years. It starts on the vast plains of Africa. It continues through ice ages. It continues across continents. It is a story of survival against all odds. It is a tale of innovation and incredible creativity. We often think of history in terms of kings. We often think of history in terms of empires. We often think of history in terms of wars. We often think of history in terms of revolutions. But the real story of our species is much deeper and much older. It is written in our bones. It is written in our DNA. It is written in the ancient tools our ancestors left behind for us to find. Look around you. The world we live in is a product of this long journey. The technology in our hands, the languages we speak, the food we eat, all have roots in the distant past. The challenges our ancestors faced shaped their bodies and their minds. These ancient adaptations still influence how we think and feel today. Why do we form societies? Why do we create art? Why do we feel a deep connection to nature? The answers to these modern questions are hidden in our ancient history. To know ourselves, we must first know the story of those who came before us. This journey back in time is not just an academic exercise. It is a personal quest. It reveals the common thread that ties all 7 billion of us together. In a world that often highlights our differences, exploring our shared origins reminds us of our fundamental unity. We are all part of the same family, sapiens. Our story began in the same place, with a small group of hominins trying to survive. By exploring that beginning, we can better understand the bonds that connect every person on this planet, from the bustling streets of Tokyo to the quiet villages of the Amazon. Our story begins not with a single event, but with a slow, dramatic change in the world itself. Imagine Africa, 6 million years ago. It was not the open savanna we often picture. It was a continent covered in dense tropical rainforests. Our earliest ancestors lived here, high in the trees. They were apes, much like modern chimpanzees, moving from branch to branch, searching for fruit. But the Earth is a restless planet. This geological upheaval triggered a profound climate shift. The once lush rainforests of East Africa began to shrink. This new environment, the savanna, was a world of immense opportunity, but also of immense danger. The old rules of survival no longer applied. Finding food meant they had to descend from the safety of their branches. They had to cross these dangerous open spaces, where giant cats and hyenas roamed freely. It was in this crucible of environmental change that the first hominins, our distant relatives, began their long and arduous journey toward becoming human. Meet Australopithecus. Perhaps the most celebrated fossil discovery of all time is an Australopithecus named Lucy, found in Ethiopia in 1974. Her brain was not much larger than a chimpanzee's, yet her bones told a revolutionary story. Her pelvis and leg bones were structured in a way that showed she walked on 2 legs. Walking upright freed the hands. Our ancestors could now carry food, hold tools, carry their infants. Standing tall also allowed them to see over the tall grasses, helping them spot predators. They were likely still clumsy walkers compared to us. They probably spent time in trees for safety. But this ability to walk on 2 feet was the first major step that set our ancestors apart from other apes. Walking on two legs is a more energy-efficient way to cover long distances. It also helped to regulate body temperature. This kept their brains cooler. It was a trade-off. It made our ancestors slower. It also led to back problems, difficulties with childbirth, issues that still affect modern humans today. The footprints they left behind are the 3.6 million-year-old echoes of our ancestors taking their first tentative steps into a new world. Around 2.8 million years ago, a new character entered our story. This was a hominin with a noticeably larger brain and a more human-like face. Scientists call this species Homo habilis. Homo habilis, handyman. Found alongside the fossils of Homo habilis were the world's first known stone tools. But this simple technology represented a massive cognitive leap. It was the first time any species had systematically created tools to solve a problem. With a sharp stone flake, they could do something no other animal could. They could slice through the tough hide, crack open bones to access the nutritious marrow. This new diet likely fueled a feedback loop. Better nutrition supported the development of a larger brain. A larger brain, in turn, allowed for the creation of better tools. We were becoming a species that actively shaped its own destiny. We were now competing with our minds. The ability to think ahead, to plan, to create a tool for a future purpose. This was a revolutionary new skill. The story of human ingenuity begins with a simple yet profound act. This moment marks the dawn of technology. The first stone tools, known as the Oldowan toolkit, were incredibly basic. Yet they represent a monumental cognitive leap. With a sharpened stone, they could suddenly do things that were biologically impossible. Slice through the thick hide, butcher meat. The act of making a tool also changed the brain itself, stimulating new neural pathways. The hand and the brain evolved together. A new, more advanced tool culture emerged with Homo erectus, the Acheulean toolkit, defined by the hand axe. Symmetrical, teardrop-shaped, carefully worked on both sides. The Swiss Army knife of the Stone Age, used for chopping wood, butchering animals, digging for roots. Consistent design across distances and time, knowledge being taught and passed down. A clear sign of early culture. Imagine the world of our ancestors. When night fell, a deep darkness descended, bringing with it the cold and the planet's most dangerous predators. But then, something extraordinary happened. At some point, our ancestors learned to control fire. Over time, they learned not just to control fire, but to create it at will. A campfire created a circle of light and warmth, a safe zone that kept nocturnal predators at bay. It extended the usable hours of the day. Instead of huddling in fear, our ancestors could now gather around the hearth. They could repair tools, they could socialize, they could share stories. Fire also revolutionized the human diet. It kills harmful bacteria. It breaks down tough fibers, making food easier to digest. Our guts could shrink. The surplus energy could then be redirected to the most demanding organ in our body, the brain. Cooking didn't just fill our stomachs, it fed our minds. The hearth became the first real home, a place to share food, a place of safety. This simple act of gathering around a flame laid the foundation for the family, the community, human society itself. With better tools and the power of fire, our ancestors grew bolder. They became formidable hunters. This was not something they could do alone. They had to work as a team. Some drive the animal to a cliff edge. Others lie in wait, ready to attack. Complex coordination needed sophisticated communication. Not full language, but signals, gestures, and sounds for real-time strategy. Food returned to camp became a collective resource. This led to rules on dividing spoils, reinforcing fairness, and strengthening bonds. It placed a premium on social learning. Hunting skills had to be taught to the next generation. A young hunter learned by watching elders, participating in hunts. The cooperative hunt was a social revolution and a cognitive revolution. For millions of years, the story of human evolution was confined to a single continent. But around 70,000 years ago, a small group of Homo sapiens made a momentous decision. They walked out of Africa. Why did they leave? Climate change may have played a major role. Growing populations may have created pressure. Or maybe it was simply human curiosity. This was not a planned invasion. It was a slow, generational creep. Over thousands of years, this gradual expansion added up to a continental-scale migration. These early travelers were equipped with the full suite of modern human behaviors. They had sophisticated language, complex stone and bone tools, the ability to control fire, and a rich symbolic culture. Genetic evidence allows us to trace this ancient journey. The data shows that all non-African people today descend from this single small population. As they moved, they left a genetic trail. It tells a clear story. We are all Africans who have recently left home, a testament to our shared origin and our species' incredible impulse to explore. As Homo sapiens moved north into Asia and Europe, they entered a world starkly different from their African homeland. The planet was in the grip of the last ice age. To survive the cold, our ancestors needed better clothing. They invented a crucial new tool, the bone needle. With these needles, they could stitch the hides together. This technology was as important as any weapon. It created a personal, portable microclimate that allowed our ancestors to stay warm and active. To hunt these megafauna, humans developed new and more powerful weapons. They created the spear thrower, or atlatl. This invention gave them a significant advantage. They also built more substantial shelters, sometimes using mammoth bones as a framework for homes covered in animal hides. The populations that settled in Europe and Asia gradually evolved physical traits. For example, paler skin evolved in regions with less sunlight. This is a powerful example of natural selection in action. While some groups were pushing north, others turned south and east. At least 50,000 years ago, humans achieved something. They crossed the open ocean to reach Australia. This was not an accidental drift on a log. It required boats. They needed the navigational skills to cross expanses of water where the destination was not visible from the shore. When these first people arrived in Australia, they entered a strange and unique world, filled with animals found nowhere else on Earth. The archaeological record shows a rich and diverse culture, including some of the oldest rock art in the world. Their story is one of the oldest continuous cultures on Earth. The last great landmass to be settled by humans was the Americas. It required crossing a now submerged land bridge that connected Siberia to Alaska. Then, toward the end of the last ice age, a path opened up. Once they got past the ice, they found a continent teeming with wildlife. These first Americans spread through the two continents with breathtaking speed. Within just 1,000 or 2,000 years, their descendants had reached the southern tip of South America. From our origins in Africa, we had walked and sailed to the ends of the earth. In the 21st century, we have opened a new history book, written inside every one of us. This book is our DNA. By comparing DNA from different parts of the world, scientists can build a giant family tree for all humanity. That tree confirms we all share a common ancestry that began in Africa. This genetic story is deeply personal. The color of your eyes, the ability to digest milk, resistance to certain diseases are all part of a legacy written in your genes. For a long time, we thought our ancestors were alone. But the story told by our genes is far more interesting. They made a startling discovery. Our ancestors had children with them. When Homo sapiens arrived in the Middle East, they did not just compete with resident Neanderthals. They met them. They interacted with them. They interbred with them. Today, Almost everyone with ancestry outside Africa carries a small percentage of Neanderthal DNA. By interbreeding with them, Homo sapiens received a quick infusion of useful genes. It was an evolutionary shortcut. The story of our species is not pure replacement. It is a story of mixing and merging, a web of connections that made us resilient and varied. As human groups spread across the globe, they developed an astonishing variety of cultural solutions. This is the beautiful tapestry of human diversity. Yet underneath all this wonderful diversity, we can see a deep, underlying unity. Every society has rules about sharing. Every culture has music, dance, storytelling. We all laugh when we are happy and cry when we are sad. We all form families and feel a deep need for belonging. The diversity of cultures is like the many branches of a single great tree. All of them spring from the same trunk and are nourished by the same ancient roots. The world we live in today seems a million miles away. Yet, we are still running on the same hardware and software that evolved on the African savanna. Our craving for sweet and fatty foods was once a brilliant survival instinct. In a world of abundance, that same instinct can be a liability. We evolved to live in small, intimate bands. This is why we feel a natural comfort in small groups, and why we can feel alienated and anonymous in a large, impersonal city. When we gather with family for a holiday feast, we are echoing the ancient practice of sharing food around a campfire. When we tell stories to our children, we are continuing a tradition that began in the darkness of an Ice Age shelter. The past is not gone. It is woven into the fabric of our daily lives, a constant reminder of the long journey that made us who we are. We have traveled a very long way, from an ape-like ancestor to the minds of our ancestors as they struck the first stone tool, to the warmth of the first controlled flame. Our story is defined by three powerful forces: survival, creativity, movement. We are a restless species. Our global presence today is the direct result of this ancient migratory impulse. We are a species of explorers, forever pushing into new frontiers. The story of human origins teaches us a profound and simple truth. We are one family. Our many stories all trace back to the same beginning. We often forget that these differences are very recent and very superficial. The things that unite us are far older and far deeper than the things that set us apart. Every person you meet, no matter how different they may seem, is a fellow traveler on this extraordinary journey. They too carry the legacy of savanna survival, Ice Age ingenuity, and the Great Migration. Our differences tell a story, but it is a story that begins with the same origins. We are all branches of the same human tree, connected by the same deep roots. The story of humanity is the greatest detective story ever told, but many pieces are still missing, mysteries that are still waiting to be solved. The journey of Homo sapiens is far from over. By looking back, we can gain the perspective to look forward with greater wisdom. The exploration of our shared past is a journey that never ends.